Your attention, let's please, we're going to call the August the 4th, 2022 meeting to order, Union County meeting. I'm going to ask Jack McKechnie, who's been slipping around and been gone, and I caught him and he's agreed to do the invocation. So Jack, if you'll do that, we'd appreciate it.
Let's pray. Father God, we are so grateful for this opportunity to be involved in our community's business. Father, we're glad to have the type of area that we live in. Thank you for the good weather. Father, bless this meeting. May it be done in an orderly fashion, and may you have your will done. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Please stand, and we're going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. Mr. Bill Walker will be leading us in the pledge.
Veterans render hand salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. First item of business will be approve the minutes of the June the 16th, 2022 county meeting. Those minutes are hereby approved as presented to you tonight. So tonight we have the pleasure and the honor of recognizing the Union County Senior Center as a day activity center for seniors here in Union County. Some of y'all may know about programs there, some of you may not, but I'm telling you, it's an incredible place. The center offers various activities to keep the seniors of our county active while also providing socialization opportunities. Some of these activities include exercise classes, line dancing, arts, crafts, bingo, music. The center also provides nutrition classes along with other evidence-based programs for health and wellness. A midday meal is also provided, so all of these are utilizing the Senior Center. Now the Senior Center is also the home base of the Meals on Wheels program. Has anybody not heard of Meals on Wheels? Okay, so Meals on Wheels, you can always grumble about federal programs, but you cannot grumble about Meals on Wheels. That's one of the best programs in the United States of America, and it is so valuable for our seniors. And so those Meals on Wheels don't get out there on their own, so you got a combination of people that help deliver and volunteers. I know everyone has seen the vehicles are running up and down the roads delivering meals to seniors who are homebound. This is a wonderful program that serves two purposes. The homebound seniors receive fresh meals throughout the week, but this also serves as a welfare check for these seniors. The volunteers delivering the meals visit with the seniors for a few minutes and just make sure that they are okay each week, in addition to delivering them the food. Kathy Hill, and where's Kathy? Kathy Hill, director of the Senior Center, said it best: we could not operate a successful senior center without our volunteers. In the last fiscal year, the Senior Center volunteers delivered 21,690 meals. And this group of volunteers will drive over 27,000 miles per year delivering those meals. The volunteers, they volunteer their time, their vehicles, their gas to make sure Union County homebound seniors receive fresh meals each day. They are hardworking individuals who are dedicated to the job they perform. The Senior Center has volunteers to work in the kitchen, packing meals, and serving those seniors who are eating their meals at the center. There's also volunteers to assist the seniors in learning how to paint, along with many other crafts that they do over there. We're proud that we just completed an addition to the Senior Center through the SPLOST funds, and they're just about got it 100% complete, so they'll be able to utilize that soon. While this may take a minute, I'm going to have my assistant, Jennifer Mann, right?
Right, yes.
Come on up, do it right. She's going to read the volunteer names, and how long they've been volunteering at the senior center. Now, some of these are volunteers, some are paid, but they all, if you're paid at the senior center, it's almost like being a volunteer. Probably more like it. So we appreciate them so much. I feel this is important, a part of recognizing and dedication group as volunteers, as some of them have been volunteering many years. Turn it over to you, Ruth.
I have it already, thank you. Okay, so I don't normally get up and talk, so everybody just bear with me. So I'm gonna read down the list of how long the volunteers have been volunteering. The very first one is Joyce and Fred Woodward.
If you could, when they do it, raise your hand. We'll let you stand
They're
up.
not
They may not be here. Everybody could come.
Okay, Joyce and Fred Woodward have been volunteering since 1993, for 29 years. It's a very long time.
Yeah.
Richard and Clara Levine, 2015 was when they started. Debbie Eisel, she delivered for many years, but then had to take off a while and come back in 2020. Marvin Gross, June Tyler since 2015. Bill McGlamory started this year. Karen Patterson since 2013. Ursula and Roy Whitelock since 2008, which is a total of 14 years. Nancy Schaffner. Nancy's here. I hope I didn't butcher that. I'm so sorry. Since 2015. Chris and Nancy Foster since 17. Karen Lemkeman since 2020. Brad Malone, 2018. Elaine Malone, 2021. John Batts, 2017. Bob and Patty Knox since 2019. John and Sandy Karsk, 2014. Travis Adams, 2021. Kathy McMillan since 2020. Sorry, this says Charles Crick, but I know it was Charlie Crick. For 15 years, since 2007. Leslie Mishral. Caitlin Payne since 2022. Francis McConnell, 2022. Barbara and Richard DeRopstra, since 2014. They are the artists that teach the seniors painting. So Ralph Holdsworth has been volunteering for 21 years, since 2001. And John Daniels since 2014. Albert Hollis for 8 years. And then there's also Judy and Hal Brown, which they're not here, I knew they would be. Judy and Hal Brown. Judy makes little possums and little critters. Does she knit, sew? Crochets. And she sells those at the fundraisers they have at the senior center. And that money goes to the Meals on Wheels program. So I believe, did I miss anybody? Terry Thomas, music mama. Is that it? I don't think I missed.
Well, thank you. And, and I'm gonna let Cassie say just a few words, but then I also want her to introduce the staff this year.
Well, I'd like to thank the commissioner for all that he does for the senior center, and he's very supportive. All of our county employees are very supportive, very kind and good to us. And without our volunteers, we could not run the senior center. They're actually people we can't pay. We couldn't afford them, and we're a nonprofit. So what I'd like to just say is thank you to everybody. Thank you to everybody who donates, because we live on a lot of donations too. We do get federal, state, and county funds, but we depend on a lot of donations. And we have some new staff, but I'll introduce Doug Collins, he's our van driver. Tiffany Payne, Marvin, she's our kitchen manager. Joy Reed Foster. Barbara, yes, right, I'll forget everybody's name. And Lee Davis. And we're all down there working very hard to do what we do. And we're not sitting there twiddling our thumbs thinking about about what to do because we have plenty to do. Our seniors keep us very busy and we're just proud to be able to do what we do. We're thankful. Thank you so much, Commissioner.
Thank you,
Thank
ma'am. Thank all of y'all very much for taking the time out to be here tonight, and thank y'all for recognizing them. It's incredible what they do. It's just one part of Union County government that people do not really understand, know the details of, and how much is involved, and how many people in the community it requires to help make it work. And if you ever want to go on a Meals on Wheels trip for them one day, contact Kathy, and it will be one of the highlights of your life when you go out to those homes and see what they do for those people. It's incredible. And I'm going to turn you guys loose to go home and enjoy the rest of the evening. Thank you. Okay, so that was a good and entertaining part. The rest of it may be kind of boredom. Hope not, but anyway, the item number 2 on the agenda tonight is, the next item is Mr. Damon Hughes with the USDA Wildlife Services Division. He will be speaking to us all about USDA Wildlife Services oral rabies vaccine bait drop in Union County. You should have a handout that corresponds with his presentation. So come on.
I feel kind of humbled to follow an organization like Meals on Wheels, but I'll try to do my best. First, I want to thank the Commissioner for allowing me to come and speak with y'all today, and Ms. Mahan for providing the handouts that she did. I understand y'all got a long meeting, so I'm gonna try to make mine short and sweet. Maybe that'll help move it along a little bit. But I just want to talk about the USDA Wildlife Services oral rabies vaccine bait drop. We've actually been doing this in Georgia for the last nearly 20 years. I think we started in 2003. If you look at the next to last page in your handout, if you pick one up, that's the area that we baited since 2003. The very back page shows the current area we're baiting. We started last year baiting that area. In the past, I've done mail-outs to commissioners and local law enforcement, schools, stuff like that, to try to get the information out. Last year, I had a situation. I went to one of the county commissioner meetings about a month afterwards and gave my presentation, and the commissioner said, well, when are y'all gonna do this? And I said, well, we did it about a month ago. And he said, oh, you're just now telling us. I sent out an email and they hadn't gotten it, so I thought the best thing for me to do is probably just show up in person, and that way I get to interact with a few of the citizens as well. But just to kind of dive right in, the oral rabies vaccine is exactly what it sounds like. We're targeting the raccoon variant of rabies. If you're not familiar with it, there's 5 what we call terrestrial variants in the lower 48. The eastern U.S. It's predominantly the raccoon variant, and so we're targeting that here in the eastern U.S. Our initial reason for doing this is that variant was moving westward about 30 to 35 miles a year. They started looking at some of the data, and what it showed was that if it continued on, it was already quite expensive with post-exposure shots, pets being vaccinated, other domestic and livestock, domestic animals and livestock issues. So they wanted to stop that westward spread. Now we're actually talking about eventually eradicating this strain from the United States. What this consists of is there's some oral vaccines that have been developed, and we drop these out of fixed wing planes and out of helicopters. Here in Union County, it'll just be the fixed wing planes currently. So around mid-October is when we'll start, typically, and we'll be flying about 500 feet above ground level. So if you see some white planes going back and forth, it is a government operation, but there's nothing secret about it. And we'll be dropping little small packets that have the vaccine in them. They're coated with wax and then rolled into a fish meal polymer. A lot of times law enforcement or people's courthouse, they'll get calls, hey, I've got this plane that just keeps going back and forth over my house. And that is the case. Our bait lines are about 1,500 feet apart, and we drop approximately 75 baits per square kilometer in the bait zones. The information that Ms. Mahan provided, I think will answer most of your questions. These baits have been tested in over 60 animals before they were released for use. They're safe for dogs or cats or other domestic animals that pick them up. Sometimes, as we know, dogs, they get a little overzealous in their eating. So if they pick up multiple baits, the fish meal polymer on there is rich, and they may get a little indigestion, but it is safe for them. We try not to drop baits around houses or any urban areas that, at least in here, and we do some in urban areas with helicopters, but if you do see a bait, if you can, just leave it where it's at. If it's in your yard and you want to dispose of it, or better yet, if you can kind of throw it on the fringe, don't pick it up with your hand. Shouldn't cause any problems, but some people may have a slight skin reaction to it. Pick it up with a Walmart sack or something, like say you can throw it away, ideally, throw it in the bushes or something like that so the target animals can get it. Afterwards, about 4 to 6 weeks afterwards, we'll come back in and trap the baited area. We'll trap raccoons. We'll take those animals, we'll use some drugs to sedate them. We'll take blood from them, and we'll send that blood off for testing, and they can tell us what percentage of the population that have picked up the baits. So be glad to answer a few questions if anybody's got any right quick. If you'd like more information, or if you're part of a civic group or church group or something and you're looking for a presenter, I'd be glad to come and talk a little more in depth about it. There's a 866 number in here. It'll forward you to our state office in Athens, and they can just tell me you want to talk to somebody about rabies, and they'll send the message to me. So, yes, sir.
What's the bait look like?
It looks like a little, kind of a narrow ketchup packet. It's white, and it's about the same size as a ketchup packet, but a little more narrow.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Anybody else? Thank you again for y'all's time, and I greatly appreciate it.
I learned a lot, and I'm sure y'all did. Some of y'all know that came to the meeting last month, and I wasn't here. Apparently, I'd got the raccoon variants, and I wasn't sure which one it was. But, I got told it. Just kidding about that. But, I felt kind of like a raccoon after a few days of that. Item 3 is our audit report. We're always glad to have this come and have this go. It's always a kind of a nerve-wracking part because they don't call us up and say, hey, you guys did really good here, or you did really bad here, or, we just give it to them and they come back and give us a report. So I'd ask Mr. Clay Pilgrim from Reston and Company, Certified Public Accountants, to come up to present with all of the Union County Audit Report for fiscal year 2021. And you should have a handout related to this as well.
Thank you, Commissioner, for having Rustin back to do your audit for 2021. That's gentleman there from USDA said, it's tough to follow up Meals on Wheels, and even more tough to follow up a USDA program there, and I get to talk here about numbers that nobody wants to talk about, so, bear with me, take you a quick nap, it'll all be over soon, I'm gonna be as brief as I can be. So, before I get started, I've got a brief presentation here. Before I get started, I want to thank the Commissioner and the entire team at Union County. Obviously, I bother Laura and Jennifer and Pam, the finance team, more than anybody, but I bother all departments. We go to the recreation centers, we go to the golf course, we go to the all different departments, the senior center, all different departments. So we get to we turn over a lot of rocks, look at a lot of things, and so we're very appreciative of all the team. They even though we ask for a lot of information, they give it to us and do it with a smile, even though we're probably frustrate them a little bit. All right, so we get into a few numbers. So we issue an annual audit report. That report is, I don't know if it's quoting here, 90 pages. So there's a lot of information there. So we're going to start with page 1, and we should finish up somewhere around 11:30 tonight. By the time I get to page 90.
You'll finish up.
I pulled a few numbers from that report here. But as I mentioned, the report is very lengthy. But one of the things in that report found on pages 1 through 3, and that's our independent audit report. So I'm pleased to present that for 2021 we have an unmodified opinion or clean opinion on the financial statements. Nothing came to our attention during the audit that would prohibit us from issuing an unmodified or clean opinion. That letter, 3 pages long, I mentioned it spells out a few things in it. One, it spells out that these financial statements we're talking about here are the responsibility of Union County's management. They're not our responsibility as the auditor. We, of course, as the auditor of the county, are responsible for expressing an opinion on the fair presentation of those statements. We're basically making sure those statements are not materially misstated, whether due to error or fraud. We do follow government auditing standards in the audit. Of course, Union County being a county, we are required to follow government auditing standards issued by the Comptroller General of the United States. I mentioned earlier we had an unmodified opinion for 2021. All right, in that 90-page report I mentioned earlier, there's really only 2 statements in the entire report that bring all activities of Union County together in one. Now, there's probably 50 or 60 statements in there throughout, in addition to the notes, the financial statements, but there's only 2 of those statements that bring all activities together, and that's your government-wide statements found on pages 15 through 17. It's the statement of net position, which is on pages 15 and 16, and that's going to be like a balance sheet for a business enterprise. You've got the statement of activities found on page 17, which is going to be like an income statement for the county. And when I mention all activities, so you all are familiar with government, you're familiar with the general fund, which is the chief operating fund of the county. We'll talk about it here in a moment. But then you've got SPLOST funds, which are capital projects funds. You've got special revenue funds. You've got enterprise funds, which are like the golf course and the recreation. So those are these 2 statements are the only statements that bring all of those activities together. So a few numbers from those statements. We'll look at net position. So net position is going to be the equity, often term fund balance, net assets. There's all different types of terms for an equity. But in the case here, we're talking about the full accrual basis of accounting. We're talking about net position. So net position is going to be the assets of the county less the, not to get too accounting deep with you here, but basically the assets and deferred outflows of resources, and then take those and subtract out the liabilities and deferred inflows of resources. That gives you net position. So it's basically the residual equity of the county. All right, got a 3-year comparison there. For 2021, you'll note there, you got net investment capital assets. Net investment capital assets is going to be the capital assets like land, building, equipment, less depreciation on those assets, less any debt utilized to acquire those assets. That's $50,899,027. Restricted net position is going to be SPLOST to be a great example of this. So any SPLOST dollars that you had not, or the county had not yet spent as of 12/31/21 would be held as restricted, as those are restricted from outside source. $5,674,728. The residual amount there of unrestricted net position was $7,034,573. That gets you to your total net position of $63,608,328. For the year, there was a $6,190,136 increase in net position. That was due to, as we'll talk here in the general fund in a moment, that was due largely to increases in property and sales taxes, decrease in capital grants and contributions, and there was increase in expenses as well. All right, looking at the general fund. As I mentioned earlier, it's the chief operating fund of the county. It's where a lot of the activity as far as operating is concerned takes place. Your general fund for the county, revenues increased $1,578,604, about 7.4%. You'll note there are three different items that increased. Property taxes increased, you had title ad valorem taxes or TAVT that increased, and then local option sales tax increased, the loss taxes there. Intergovernmental revenues decreased for the year, and now we're talking general fund here alone. So the intergovernmental revenues decreased because in the prior fiscal year, there was the CARES Act funds that were received. Those CARES Act funds were not received in the current year. However, there were some funds received through the additional federal dollars received in 2021. However, those go through the ARPA funds, which is the American Rescue Plan Act. Y'all are probably familiar with that somewhat, but through ARPA, those funds were received in 2021. However, those funds are required to be accounted for in a separate fund, so they're in the ARPA fund. So they would not be reflected here in the general fund. And those are also only recognized as revenue when they're expended. So as they get expended, they get recognized as revenue. All right, so expenditures. Expenditures increased $2,565,918, or about 14.7%. A few departments here. Your general administration was down $557,000. That was due largely to some capital outlay in the prior year and the countywide property appraisal, reappraisal in the prior year as well. Risk management was up $393,519. That's where your insurance claims reside. Sheriff and courthouse security was up $1,068,048. That's due to personal services and also capital outlay. Jail operations were up $112,225 due to personal services, and highways and streets were up $824,814 due to personal services and capital outlay. All right, unassigned fund balance. So when we look at unassigned fund balance, in comparison there, 2021 to 2020, you'll see the unassigned fund balance at the end of 2021 was $6,011,300. Although not perfect science, when looking at this is oftentimes referred to as the reserve, so to speak. And oftentimes people use unrestricted fund balance or unassigned fund balance. In this case, the unassigned fund balance of the county is the same as the unrestricted. There are no assignments of fund balance in this case. So you're looking at about 30.1% of your annual expenditures, or about 3.6 months. So just to put that into perspective, the Government Finance Officers Association, GFOA, issues best practices on unrestricted fund balance, and they recommend 2 to 3 months as best practice there as far as maintaining in fund balance. So, I should say at least 2 to 3 months. So the county here in this case is at 3.6 months, which is healthy, but not too healthy. Sometimes when you get 9, 10, 12, 15 months fund balance, you know, that it can also be bad to get too much fund balance as well. So in this case, as I mentioned, they recommend at least 2 to 3 months, and you're for 3.6 months, so healthy in that regard for general fund balance. All right, moving on to SPLOST. We always call attention, don't get into a whole lot of details on SPLOST here, but we do have a SPLOST schedule. That SPLOST schedule is found on pages 97 and 98 of the report. For 2021, the county expended $3,042,541 of SPLOST $4. That's the 2015 referendum. And the county expended $2,178,619 of 2021 SPLOST, which was SPLOST 5 referendum. All right, these next few slides I'm going to move through very quickly. Some of you may say, yeah, could you get any quicker? You've already been talking extremely fast so far. And that's not on purpose. I just happen to talk pretty fast. But this is going to be really quick, only because these are required communications. So I am required to communicate these items to the commissioner as the board here, in this case, charged with governance. And I will say, these next 4 or 5 pages here, if I read these a year ago today, they probably said the same thing with updated dates. In other words, there's not anything in here that's really not boilerplate information, so that's why I'm going to be quick. It's not that I'm trying to hide anything in that regard. So I mentioned earlier, what are our responsibilities as your auditors? I mentioned that we are required to opine upon the financial statements. These slides here just talk about what that means. we do believe our audit accomplishes the objectives that we plan to perform the audit to obtain reasonable, and I mentioned reasonable earlier, not absolute. We don't look at every transaction. Your finance folks may think differently of that. They probably think we look at every transaction because we ask for a lot of information. But we are not able to look at every transaction. But we do try to obtain reasonable assurance that they're free of material misstatements. All right, the accounting policies. The accounting policies of the county are found in Note 2 to the financial statements in this lengthy report here. As I mentioned, the county did not implement any new accounting standards during the current year. I'll talk about here in a moment one that's coming that is going to be pretty substantial. It's going to be in this next year. For those of you who are not accountants, if you ever get a chance to read through those, that's good bedtime reading. You'll be asleep in no time for sure. All right, accounting estimates. Most of you know that most all financial statements do have estimates in them. There are estimates in these financial statements. We do feel like we're required to report the most sensitive estimates in there. Your life expectancy of capital assets for depreciation. So that's how long you depreciate an asset. Of course, that's an estimate. And the allowance for uncollectible property taxes and costs for landfill post-closure care. They're all estimates in the financial statements. All right, this next slide, talking about audit adjustments, whether corrected or uncorrected. So we do, during our audit process, from time to time, have adjustments we have, or journal entries that we make. Those adjustments are discussed and sent through management. They are approved by management. We also have, from time to time, what we call uncorrected or past adjustments. That would be something we may come across that's maybe immaterially different. Oftentimes we'll do analytical type procedures that aren't exact, and we will check to see if things line up. If something's immaterially different, we will pass on that adjustment. However, we do record those in our software and accumulate those to make sure, okay, even though one entry may not be material, were they material in the aggregate? We also provide those to management. They agree those are material and those have not been posted to the records of the county. All right, disagreements with management. Pleased to present that this year we did not have any disagreements with management during our audit process. Had we had disagreements with management or any difficulties in performing the audit, as I mentioned in this next section here, we would have communicated that long before now. We did not just wait till after year end here to stand up and talk about issues we have with management or any difficulties. Management representation letter, this one being probably the most important of this boilerplate information. Management representation letter we obtain, required to obtain, it is basically a letter that's signed by management that says that they have provided us with all information, have not withheld information from us, or answered questions, basically that they've answered questions incorrectly on purpose that may change our opinion on the financial statements. In other words, they've tried to provide everything they could and have not intentionally withheld anything that may change our opinion on the financial statements. I'm pleased to present I do have that letter in my file signed by management. Not aware of any consultations with other independent accountants to obtain what we may consider to be a second opinion or anything on any matters in the financials. And we do from time to time have audit findings or comments we issue that are issued in separate letters. However, those discussions and such we have were not basically did not keep us from issuing our opinion. Our opinion did not depend upon them. All right, last thing I want to talk about is future reporting changes. We try as a firm to be ahead of the curve on changes that are coming with our clients, with the team here at the county. This is one that we've been way ahead of the curve. We've been talking about this one for probably 5 years now. My days get away from it, but I'd say at least 3 years. And it's a new accounting standard. It's going to affect all entities, really. It's going to affect all governments. It's going to likely affect all corporations, whether nonprofits. Now, the particular one we're talking about here is a GASB statement, which is the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, and it's GASB statement number 87. I mentioned earlier about for-profit companies or nonprofit organizations. It will also affect them, but that's going to be a FASB statement because the Financial Accounting Standards Board issues statements for non-governmental entities. And so, but however, they have also issued a new lease standard. So GASB and FASB both issued new lease guidance. So leases are changing across the board for everybody. So previously, I'll quickly kind of explain what this one is. Previously, leases were accounted for, or I guess currently still at this point, are accounted for as either a capital or an operating lease. Operating leases being things like oftentimes copier leases or real estate are often leased and you pay a monthly rent expense or rent revenue from the lessor side. A capital lease, on the other hand, is when oftentimes a piece of equipment or some type of real estate or something is purchased, and there's 4 criteria that make an operating lease become a capital lease. Most often we see a bargain purchase option where basically you're just financing a purchase. So if you buy a piece of equipment, you pay over 5 years, and at the end of that term, you got a $1 buyout. That's oftentimes a capital lease, and the ownership of that asset turns over to the organization. That's what we're talking about with capital. So currently we got capital or operating. The new standard is going to change that. We're now going to have a single approach to accounting for leases. Unfortunately, that single approach did slide more toward the capital side of things. So the new accounting for leases will be similar to capital lease. Now you have an intangible asset that'll get recorded and amortized or depreciated, and you'll have a lease liability or lease asset that'll go on the books in this regard. So we've been talking about this one for a few years. We've been talking with the team at the county here about gathering up. The most important thing here thus far has been gathering up all agreements, and I say agreements and not leases. There may be things that are not called a lease that are technically meet the definition. That's the first thing this standard does, is say what is a lease. So that's what the first step is, determining what leases you do and do not have, and making sure they're material and getting that implemented. So that concludes my presentation, and I appreciate your time and attention, and I don't see too many people asleep, so that's good. Thank y'all so much. Any questions? Happy to answer any questions.
What did all that mean?
I know I'm thorough.
Yeah, Alan, I assume from all that you have said that the county is in the black.
Yes.
Good.
Yeah, you would.
That's good.
You would not have fund balance if you're in the red.
Right, right.
Any other questions? All right. Thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna give a break just a second. People that are standing up, we typically don't use these seats, but if y'all wanna come up here and sit in one of these jury seats, we'll pretend you're in the jury.
Let's go. If they're more comfortable, let's go.
There's about 12 to 13 seats.
12 jurors and 1 alternate.
She pays to come late and get a comfortable seat.
I think we're standing up for an hour, 40 minutes too.
Oh, that's so
Okay.
good. Volunteers.
Feel a little more comfortable over there. Item number 4, and I guess back to the audit, you can see why that's never the most exciting thing to listen to or try to figure out or understand. There is a copy of the audit report that is available if you really want a person that likes to dig into that stuff. Check with the office, and we don't yet, but we will have a few of those reports there if somebody wants to really tackle them and go through them. And of course, if you got any questions later on, you're certainly welcome, which is what we try to let everybody know all the time. If you got questions, you don't have to ask them tonight. They can be asked to our office. You can email us, you can call us, you can stop by. There's a lot of ways to communicate with the Union County Commissioner's Office. Item 4 is I hereby accept this adoption agreement between the Association of County Commissioners of Georgia Defined Contribution Plan Program. The Association of County Commissioners of Georgia Defined Contribution Plan Program Master Trust in Union County for the retirement plan for Union County employees. This is a restatement of the plan. Item number 5, I hereby accept this affidavit of appointment of George Birch to the Union County Board of Elections for the term January the 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026. This appointment was made by the Union County Republican Party. Item 6, I hereby accept this affidavit of appointment of Ricardo B. Rivas to the Union County Board of Elections for one term, January the 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2026. This appointment was made by the Union County Democrat Party. Item 7, I hereby accept this agreement for indigent defense services between the Public Defender's Office of the Oneida Judicial Circuit in Union County, Lumpkin County, White County, and Towns County. The cost to Union County is $117,156.79 for fiscal year 22 and 23, with an effective date of July the 1st, 2022 through June 30th of 2023. Union County has committed an additional $20,000 to this agreement to have a public defender assigned to Union County 5 days per week. This is only a $4,730 increase from last year's budget agreement with the Indigent Defense Fund. And the Indigent Defense Fund is just a fund where those who cannot afford an attorney, one has to be provided for them in the state of Georgia. And so that's what this group provides those attorneys for that. Item number 8, I hereby accept this agreement between the Georgia Department of Corrections and Union County for 6 work details for the period of July the 1st, 2022 through June the 30th, 2023. The cost for these details is $49,318 per detail, totaling for all 6 details $295,908 for the term of the agreement. This is for the detainee crews that we use from the Caldwell Detention Center throughout the county. Currently, we are only providing 1 detainee crew, partly because of COVID, partly because of different things going on with the state. It's still a big help as our maintenance and road department relies on these guys. If all 6 details are not available to work, our cost is adjusted accordingly, so we don't pay when they're not working. So basically, we only have to pay for the crews we are able to use throughout the year. The contract amount if we have all 6 crews available for us for the entire year. And I can't tell you how much negative impact this has had when they do get COVID cases over there, and all of a sudden they let us know, hey, for the next 3 weeks, you're not gonna be able to have any crews. When you're used to 6 crews every day going out and helping in jobs all over the county, it's a huge hit when that doesn't happen. So we're really appreciative of what they do. We're supportive of the way they have to do it, but we are also thankful when we have those crews working for us, continuing to keep the county in a good-looking condition that it's in. Number 9 is an agreement. I hereby accept this agreement between Legacy Link and Union County for the required local share during fiscal year 2023 in the amount of $105,000. This is the amount Union County has committed in local funds to operate the senior center from July the 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. This is a $10,000 increase from previous year due to increased costs at the senior center. And of course, that's the senior center that we were talking about previously, and the great work that they do. And they're also funded through the federal government. A good portion of their costs are, so we're glad we were able to get assistance with that, not only the Meals on Wheels. Item 10, I hereby accept this agreement to the amendment to the intergovernmental agreement dated March 29, 2021 between the Georgia Department of Natural Resources and Union County for the construction of a target shooting range located approximately 9 miles southeast of Blairsville off of Highway 180. This amendment had an effective date of March 8, 2022, and increases the amount committed by Georgia DNR, Department of Natural Resources, from $1,800,000 to $3,420,000. This amendment also decreases the amount Union County agrees to contribute from $600,000 down to $380,000. So we are very appreciative of this increase. Item 11 is a commitment letter. I hereby accept this commitment letter between Union County and Legacy Link, again the Senior Center, for the required local share during fiscal year 2023 in the amount of $12,450. These funds are used by the Area Agency on Aging as we match or draw down the federal funds and state monies for administration, coordination, information, and referral, employment, and training of the older workers and volunteer programs at the Union County Senior Center. Item 12 is a contract. I hereby accept this contract between Milestone Construction LLC in Union County for the construction of the Union County Gun Range in the amount of $3,780,000. This contract has an effective date of June the 30th, 2022. Item 13 is a notice to proceed. I hereby accept this notice to commence work for the Milestone Construction LLC in accordance with the contract dated June 30th, 2022 on July the 14th, 2022. The work shall be fully completed on or before August the 8th, 2023. So if you know any more about that than we did before, good luck. We have got the bid out, and they are supposed to start work soon and be completed by that date. So we're certainly hoping everything works according to plan. Item 14 is a contract. I hereby accept this contract between Paymerang. That's like boomerang with pay in front of it. That's the way I know to say it. So it's Paymerang LLC in Union County, Georgia for vendor payment services in the amount of $200 per month, and they are waiving the implementation fee. Invoice automation services are provided at a rate of $1 per invoice with a $300 monthly minimum and a $5,000 implementation fee normally. The effective date of this contract is July 22nd, 2022. Paymerang is an automated payment and invoice service that will help, I'm saying that wrong, that will help us transition into a more effective accounting payable process. This new process will reduce the potential for fraud, be more efficient, and at the same time save money can be put into the use in areas where it is needed more. So I appreciate the accounting staff working with this company to get this done. I think it's going to be a big issue. And I also meant to thank the accounting staff for the auditors and the work that they do. They work tirelessly all the time trying to keep our numbers going, whether it be SPLOST or general fund, whatever the projects are. They do a great job, and we appreciate them very much. Item 15 is a grant. I hereby accept this accountability courts grant for the Juvenile Justice Incentive Grant in the amount of $148,448. The grant period is from July the 1st, 2022 to June the 30th, 2022. That's probably 2023 it is, sorry. Item 16 is a lease agreement. I hereby accept this lease agreement between the Blairsville Union County Chamber of Commerce and Union County for the use of office space located at 129 Union County Recreation Road at the Union County Community Center in the amount of $52,878.60 per year, with $40,074.60 being considered in kind. Monetary or credit payments will be made in the amount of $1,067 directly to the Union County Community Center on a monthly basis. Item 17 is a Memorandum of Understanding. I hereby accept this Memorandum of Understanding between the Board of Regents of the University System of Georgia on behalf of the University of Georgia Cooperative Extension and Union County. This MOU states that Union County will provide partial salary payments to UGA Extension employment in the Union County office, and that we will provide them with office space. UGA will provide the employees various services and the remainder of salaries. And this is basically our 4-H and the programs down at the Civic Center that deal with all of these items. Item 18 is the ordinance of first reading, and as we typically do, you'll have a copy of this, but we don't actually read it the first time. We could read it tonight because I knew you ought to be a little excited because it was not taking long enough, but we decided we would not read it the first time, but you do have a copy of it. We have a first reading, which is considered where we present it to the public, then have a public hearing, and then a second reading where it's accepted. This constitutes as the first reading of the Union County Amplified Sound Ordinance. Most of you haven't heard that name yet. You all have been provided a copy of the draft Amplified Sound Ordinance. A sound amplifying device means any machine or device for the amplification of the human voice, music, or any other sound. It is not an extremely far-reaching ordinance, but it is fair and reasonable and will hopefully allow the Sheriff's Office for some assistance and control in the noise, some of the noise that appears in communities occasionally. Lumpkin County allowed us to borrow several points and parts of this ordinance. So it's, again, it's not an exhaustive ordinance, but it's something that will help, and especially with our VRBO and other issues where the sheriffs go out and don't really have a legal case, other than saying we'd like for you to quit. Now they've got some grounds, or will have once this ordinance is adopted. And of course, it can be some changes made to it as we go along. Item 19 is resolution R-2022-14. I hereby accept this resolution to extend the emergency moratorium on application for the development of and expansion of campgrounds, mobile home parks, manufactured home parks, recreational vehicle parks, tiny home parks, park mall parks, or any other similar type of development that was enacted on March 29, 2022. This emergency moratorium will be extended for up to 90 to 120 days from June the 27th, 2022. The Building and Development Office and the County Attorney are working on this ordinance, and we hope to have a first draft ready for the September county meeting, which would be a first reading. The following three resolutions pertain to the Urban Redevelopment Agency. This agency was created back in 2008-2009 to fund money for the construction of the Union County Community Center. The property that the community center is located on is still in the name of the Urban Redevelopment Agency. The first step in getting this property transferred to Union County government is to reappoint the board of directors, which is, and follow the resolutions as the resolutions do. So number 20, 21, and 22, I hereby accept resolution R 2022-15. Appoints Jack McKechnie to the board of directors for the Urban Redevelopment Agency at Union County from August 1st, 2022 to July 31st, 2023. Number 21, Resolution R 2022-16. I hereby accept this resolution appointing Mary Ruth Cook to the Board of Directors for the Urban Redevelopment Agency of Union County from August 1st, 2022 to August 31st, 2023. Number 22, Resolution R 2022-17. I hereby accept this resolution appointing Daniel Davenport to the Board of Directors for the Urban Redevelopment Agency of Union County from August 1st, 2022 to July 31st, 2023. And once they're there, they'll have a meeting and they'll make the transfer. Item 23 is a road acceptance. I hereby accept Shady Lane into the county maintenance road system. This road is less than a quarter of a mile long, 924 feet. Property owners on Shady Lane have submitted all required right-of-way. Now, we did an ordinance, or I guess we tried to slow down the VRBO new applications that were coming into the county, which have been coming in at quite a large pace. And so in order to do that, we set up, but we had to give them 60 days because if somebody had bought a home and had already been working on it, it'd make it a VRBO. It wasn't fair to just chop the legs out from under them right at the start. I guess we didn't know really how many would be coming along, but I won't read each one of these addresses, but there's 24, this is number 24 through 66, business license, VRBO, or short-term rental agreement. Stillway Lodge, 88 Stillway Lane. Maritaza LLC, 15 Marie Lane. Such as Creek Retreat, 10 Angeline Avenue, such as Legacy Mountain Life Getaway, 19 Bell Lane. Majestic View Lodge LLC, 290 Raleigh Ridge. The Gribble Group LLC, 706 Cozy Cove Road. KANB Property Management LLC, 22 Todd Drive. Suppavar Rental, 328 Sharp Top Circle. Brownfield Rental, 4101 Pat Caldwell Road. Ringiger Rental, I guess I should have practiced some of these a little more. 20 Pioneer Road. Griffin Rental, 564 Sunnyview Drive. Almost Heaven, 243 Mount Pleasant Church Road. A Hyra Rental, 42 Sundown Court. Arkaquah Farms LLC, 398 Lower Track Rock Road. Freilich Rental, 872 Summit Way. Daniel Duello Rental, 2, 155 April Lane. Cook Rental 1, 72 Ellingsworth Lane. Cook Rental 2, 119 Cozy Cove Place. Nickerson Rental 209 Grace Mountain Road. Seville LLC 87 Vernoy Spur. 626 Group LLC 1388 Highland Trace. Mountain Trop Retreat 573 Mull Lane and 545 Mull Lane. PD Griff LLC 127 Berry Reister Drive. Bolts Rental 693 Night Scout. Herndon Rental 105 Odd Knot Drive. Mountain View Property Management, multiple properties. Bruce Rental, 9228 Gainesville Highway. The Double H, 274 Kings Road. Mooney Rental, 39 J.K. Lane, Suches. Schaefer Investment Properties LLC, 3222 Natusi Creek Road, K Road. KANB Property Management LLC, multiple addresses. Sam Rental, 2013 Pat Caldwell Road, Georgia Cabins for You, 334 New Jewel Mason Road. Peterson Rental, 210 Darby Lane. Arbor Phones LLC, 611 Suches Creek Road, Suches. Hire Rental, 50 Sullivan Trail. Dancing Rabbit LLC, 106 Morris Ford Road. Bill's Mountain Retreat, 767 Robertson Circle. Stewart Rental, 108 White Oak Flats Road. El Cap LLC, 223 Berry Road. El Cap LLC, 365 Honeysuckle Lane. Erickson Rental, 216 North Star Lane. Meyer Rental, 347 Litton Way. I don't know about y'all, but I'm tired. So I'm gonna read over a few of the notes that I've got, and then try to take a few questions, hopefully be very few. Due to the lateness and the tiredness, but if there's anything you need to know and can't find out tonight or don't get to find out tonight, you're welcome again to either write a question down now, leave it with the staff, come to the office tomorrow, call, email, text. There's numerous ways of getting in touch with us. And I wanted to just bring this up just to get a little sore thumb every once in a while. The property tax reassessments have been completed, as you know. You have received your new assessments, and the average increase in actual sales value of 1,600 properties that were sold this last year in Union County. The average was about a 22% increase in value from 2021 to 2022. That 22% increase is why your values went up again this year. We didn't like that. That's the way the state has the law set up to be worked, and that's the way our tax assessor's office has to do it. Our job as a county commissioner in the county is to not utilize any more of your funds than necessary. And so we plan on, if your property increased in that 22% range or less, then your property tax should not go up. The only ones that should go up would be new properties, new construction, or ones that were valued at much more than this. It may have been undervalued before and they've caught up with it. Our county budget is what we are going to discuss. Well, we're not going to discuss it.
Would you say that again? Because I kind of half got it. I'm sorry. About if your house sold or did not sell.
Okay, if your house sold for 22% increase, or no, let me back up. If your house was valued at more than 22%, then you may have a little bit of extra tax to pay. But if your house was valued at 22% or less, which is what the highest average for the county was, then you will have no tax increase because we're going to lower the millage. I'm going to lower the millage rate so that if your increase was 22% or less, you should not receive a tax increase, which will be the vast majority of people. I talked to the Board of Assessors today, and they said of this last group of assessments, they've only had, I think, 275 appeals, which is a whole lot less than they anticipated, which I think is initially a shock, and people were mad because last year they got an increase in valuation, and they think, well, why am I getting another increase in valuation? And the reason is simple, is that's what the law requires. And so the company that does this for the county and for the tax assessor's office takes those numbers, takes those sales, and then in the end, when the state evaluates our taxes for this year, this past year, and for the following year, they will compare the value of our property versus what we had it assessed for. So if we had the property assessed real low, and it could hurt the county and cause us tremendous fine potential. But if you keep that value up, then our ratio will be higher, which means we'll be clear to the state, and we don't anticipate any problems with that. So I know it upset some people along thinking, oh my gosh, my taxes are going up again just after it raised last year, but they're not. And unless you have an audit that is out of range, and if you do have that, then we'll suggest, of course, that you go to the tax assessor's office and talk to them and maybe file an appeal if you need to, through the 15th of this month.
There you go, that's the one that they hear that.
But the main goal is there will be, the county has X number of dollars that we require to operate. That's our budget. So it doesn't matter to us what the value of your particular property is or anybody else's property. We have to take that as a whole, and then we average the assessment over all of that amount. So I know that's confusing. It's confusing to me even sometimes, but that's the way it works. Yeah.
Are the Airbnb not increasing value of our property because they are buying for business, and they are basically increasing the prices because they feel it's good place to do business? One suggestion there as well, because I heard are many complaints about they are encroaching somebody's property. Please require the present survey for the property what they are applying for.
Okay, I'm sorry I can't really understand all that, but that's over and above my pay grade.
Okay.
And that's all that
Sir, that was
information.
a good suggestion. See me after the meeting. I'd love to
Okay.
get your name and number, okay?
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get you the information. But again, the main purpose is to remind you that there should be a zero or near zero tax increase this year coming up.
I guess since I cut the grass, it's gonna be an increase.
Someone did ask if the economy tanked. In other words, if the economy really went into a serious recession, like some have feared, and if that were to happen this year, and all of a sudden the value of your home started to drop, and the sale prices started to drop from the sales, then would the values of your property be lowered? The answer is yes. They're gonna follow, whether it's an increase, whether it stays the same, or whether it goes down. They're gonna adjust those sales based on that. That's what they're required to do by the state of Georgia law, to do that. It's just our job. You gotta remember, we need X number of dollars for taxes. So whether your property went up or down, there's no advantage in the county government increasing your valuation. There's just no because we still gotta set the millage rate based on what we need to operate the county. So, people don't really understand that, but that's the best I can explain it. If you need more on that later on, we could talk to you about that. Just a couple of quick items here I wanted to run over. A floodplain study near the farmer's market and Aldi's property for possible commercial expansion. Union County Sports Centers, which is where the gymnasiums are, is having a study to consider adding a third gym and building an adjacent to the current gym, which facility would double as a voting precinct and for a home for the elections officials. So that's something we're looking at and evaluating. Under GDOT study, the second round is the intersection of the Gooch bypass and the Gainesville Highway. We're already working on one we've got the $1 million grant, and we're already working on the plans for the one at the hospital. This is one that will be out at the Gooch Bypass and Gainesville Highway. And we're very hopeful that GDOT will kind of speed up a little bit and get the design for that. Oh, that's something really needed right there. And the gun range, as we said earlier, has been bid and should start construction in October or sooner. Colditz Construction Taven won the resurfacing for about 7 miles of county roads, with most completed including the K Road, Track Rock Gap, Cook Henry, Cooper Gap, Jones Creek, and Jewel Mason Roads. Item 7, the moratorium and on the study committee on short-term rentals. So we have Renee in our office is managing a 10-person short-term rental committee for a new regulation, new ordinance for short-term rentals. And we're looking at, this committee is looking at other counties, what they've done. We got people on the committee that like short-term rentals and have them. We got people on the committee that have them across the road from them and hate them and don't want to see any more of them. And we have people in the middle. And so it's trying to cover all sides and avenues. Again, the ordinance we talked about earlier, maybe with the noise volume thing may be an assistant to this. If you read some of the things that have been put on Facebook about short-term rental, you can get this idea that there's this problem all over the county. Well, it's not. There's a few spots, a few individual spots, and the numbers that go out there, I think they put out a number like Union County had over 2,000 short-term rentals. Well, we are going up, as you heard tonight, but we've gone up to, are we close to the 400? 350 to 400 units in the county that'll be short-term rentals. So within a month, we should have hopefully within a month, maybe just a little longer, we'll have a draft ordinance for the short-term rental to try to work with the county and try to catch some of these things ahead of time before they cause a problem. Scottish Festival and the Artston Park Festival were both huge successes this year. Both of them said they had the largest crowds they'd ever had. Farmers markets in full gear, busy as usual. Moccasin Road Convenience Center is just about ready to be open. That's out behind the Petite store, which will be another place for the people north of the county to be able to put their trash and recyclables. Union General, as you've seen, if you've been over there, is in the middle of a 45,000 square foot new doctor's office, a three store, with the first floor being orthopedic, that's knees, shoulders, hips. Second floor has women's health, OBGYN, babies, and the third will be, I think it's going to be heart related. There's a new grocery store, you've heard all these under construction. Entrance to the farmers market. Senior center expansion, which we already talked, is practically completed. Working with 8 county, I'm working and Renee that works in my office, we're working with an 8 county consortium to try to work together with other counties on growth in the North Georgia area. So it's not just Union County that's having growing pains, it's all of these counties. Pickens, White, Gilmer, Lumpkin, Rayburn, Towns, and so we're trying to meet with those people. We've had 1 meeting so far, but we're going to try to have more so that we can work together and not try to redraw and come up with a design. If some other counties already got a way that works, do that. If they don't, we'll try to work together to make something that'll be good for everyone. And we're getting a lot of compliments, not complaints, a lot of compliments on the refurbished transfer station. We're very proud of the job they're doing over there. Still got a little bit of work to do out past the hospital, but it's really come a long way, and we're proud of the job they're doing. So with that, the business meeting is adjourned, and if anybody has a question that just can't wait, needs a response, go ahead and I'll let the county attorney handle the Q&A part.
All right, thank you everybody for coming out. My name is William Mercer, I'm one of the county attorneys. We'll get to everybody's questions or statements. Keep in mind that we're only gonna field questions on the agenda, okay? You got some sort of question that, or something that the commissioner mentioned in his comments. If you got a question that's not related to one of those, please come by normal business hours, 9 through 5 at the commissioner's office. You can call, email, text, kind of like Mr. Parrish was talking about, and you will get a quick answer to whatever you need, depending on how complicated that may be. But we'll go ahead and open it up. Yes, yes, sir.
It's kind of a two-phase question. One, do you have to accept every business license that's applied for? And in the case of what we went through tonight, is there any consideration to density of existing license that would be rental property, short-term rental? Is there any consideration given to that?
Okay. Real quick, this new ordinance that's being done will handle all of that. We had no legal way to go in and just overnight stop everybody from doing anything and stop the expansion. So this new ordinance is going to be controlling that. It's going to put guidelines for all those things. So are there going to be a few that get in there that we wish didn't? There may be a few of them, but there's apparently a lot out there that were not registered. We're doing this already. That's where a lot of these came from. These are not all new people that all of a sudden decided we're going to rent our
But
property.
you don't have the ability now to reject a business license.
No, sir, we wouldn't have a legal grounds to do that just based off of them wanting to be a short-term rental. I can't even think of a law right now that would prevent, the county from saying, no, you can't have a license here, unless it was something so obvious as they wanted a business license for a place that wasn't in the county. But that is exactly why the moratorium was put down, because we know the county, lots of people in the county have issues with this. And the committee on there will be working. I know we have one person in the committee here, and so, I was going to direct this young man to her after the meeting to kind of put his thoughts in her ear, because these 10 people need to be talking about this.
Thank you. And one last thing on that is, I want to be sure that the new ordinance is going to cover, for example, fire protection. It's going to make sure there has to be a smoke alarm, there has to be a fire extinguisher. There's several certifications that have to be adequate parking. There's going to be a lot of things involved in this, and so it's going to really make, we think going forward, it's going to make the short-term rental, even though we're going to have it, it's going to make it much better under control.
Yes, ma'am, I know you had it up.
Oh, that's okay. Do you have an anticipated date of when the public hearing will be for that proposed ordinance for the short-term rentals?
Before approval.
I don't have that yet,
Okay,
because I haven't even seen the proposed ordinance yet.
okay.
Um,
And Lamar put it out there, if we have things we want to ask or contribute, we talk to Renee. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Just a comment. Excuse me. If you don't have an appreciation for the roads, our roads here locally in Union County, I suggest you drive through Illinois one time. I just came back.
Personally, I hope I don't have to drive through Illinois, but I'll take you where. Yes, ma'am.
There's something that I don't understand, and I'm gonna tell you what I'm hearing in hopes that you can explain it and let me know if it's a thing or not. There's and I've tried to ask a lot of people and nobody really understands. But there is a guy that is harping quite loudly about the splost being turned to a lost. I don't even really understand what that means, but people have been looking at it because he showed a list and it showed the lost for this year, but no splost. And I don't really know, since we were talking about the budget and that's what was going on here, do you have anything to say about that to make it make sense?
Unfortunately, I don't. It sounds like a fun play on words.
Okay.
That's kind of why I asked when the auditor came here. Like, wait, I'm getting.
Yeah, a lost.
We might have an answer for you.
Thank
Hold
you.
on.
Great.
Ms. Hawkins, please.
anytime somebody has a question about that, please feel free to call our office. Unexpanded, I'm trying to be there as much as I can. LAW stands for
Could you
law.
come to me from the microphone?
Mike.
Come to the mic.
Nobody can hear you.
Nobody here.
Come to the mic.
I might need a step stool after William. LOST, the way I understand it from the Georgia Department of Revenue website, stands for Local Option Sales Tax. It's the 1 penny. I believe that the Georgia Department of Revenue started this a long time ago, back before I ever came to work here. Each county in the state of Georgia, all 159 counties, get that 1 penny lost. It's the 1 penny after the 4 pennies first go to the state of Georgia. So every county has 4 pennies, 4% that goes directly to the Georgia Department of Revenue. The 5th one for every county is lost. Lost can be used, the way I understand it, in counties for operations or to offset the millage rate. So if you look on the Georgia Department of Revenue website, under sales tax, I believe I went over this with Diana.
Yeah.
It's Diana. It'll actually show you every county quarterly what their sales tax is. Some counties have 7%, 8%, 9%. Some have T-SPLOS. So it'll show each county, and the reason it changes quarterly is because every time a county has a referendum to add a SPLOST or a T-SPLOST or an education SPLOST, it actually takes place the following full calendar quarter or something like that. But anyway, it changes quarterly, but it's a 1-sheet thing, all 159 counties. So anyway, the 4 pennies go to the Georgia Department of Revenue. The 1 penny lost goes to all 159 counties. And then in the lost, there's, I think every 10 years, there's the lost negotiations between the county government and every city in that county. And that's how they decide how that 1 penny is gonna be separated. And I believe that our city of Blairsville gets 20% of that 1 penny lost, and we get 80% of that 1 penny lost, and it can be used for operations. Then on top of that, the next penny, the 6th one, is the SPLOST, which stands for Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. That's the referendum that talks about the SPLOST projects that people vote on to put that 1 penny in place. The next one is the Education SPLOST, which is the E-SPLOST. That's totally schools. That's also referendum. So the SPLOST and E-SPLOST people vote on, and T-SPLOST people vote on.
I misspoke, actually. He was saying it was the E-SPLOST was turned into an E-LOST.
No, that's absolutely impossible.
Okay, thank you for
Georgia Department of
clarifying.
Revenue website has a tremendous amount of information, and that's where I learned what I learned.
Where is that?
Georgia Department of Revenue.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining all of those things.
Yeah, come by the office anytime. I'm glad to help.
Well, I'm glad Ms. Hawkins was here because I had no clue what that meant. So, anybody else got a question or a statement? Yes, ma'am.
So I have a statement, those who vote decide nothing. Those who count the votes decide everything. And I did request to be on the agenda, but I was denied. And there is a lawsuit going on, or Charlotte Favorito has filed a lawsuit, as you know.
Yes, ma'am.
You gave me a copy of the lawsuit because we have violated the open records request to see if it's in the ballots. Only so that we can verify that the machines are counted correctly. And so.
Ma'am, thank you.
And so it's not on the agenda, so therefore I can't talk about it, so therefore my free speech has been suppressed.
No, ma'am. It's because we had a long meeting today. That does not mean you can't be on a meeting in the future. Okay? You are set to be on the agenda in 2 weeks, ma'am. So, you know, we can have you up here under a mic and you can make the statements of your election concerns, and we'll be happy to hear them then, okay? Thank you. Do you have a statement or a question about something on the agenda? Anybody else? Oh.
I was just gonna say, if someone wants to give me information on short-term rentals, I'll be real glad to take it back. We've been meeting almost every Wednesday for the last couple months. And we're still a ways from making the ordinance tight and tightened up, so we've got lots of room for improvement on it. So if you have something you want to tell me, I'll be real happy to take it back to the committee.
I have her personal number, so I'm happy to give it to anybody. Yes, ma'am.
If I may ask, in reference to the loss, I think I have read also under the Georgia Department of Revenue that, for example, with the T-SPLOS in November of 2021, that you have to wait 12 calendar months in order to present another loss to the public. I'm not sure.
Another loss. The loss.
So is that different?
I think every 10 years you have to do the loss negotiations with the city to decide on the percentage. That 1 penny loss stays in place. But if we put something on the ballot like T-SPLOS, for instance, there is a certain amount of time we have to wait before it can go on the ballot again. But lost is totally different. You do not vote on lost.
Right, so if you do the T-SPLOS in November of 2021, is the E-SPLOS, is that a special referendum for the May 2022?
E-SPLOS is totally different. If the school, like the Board of Education, put E-SPLOS on the ballot and it failed, I believe it is a full year you have to wait before you can put that on the ballot again. But the school board is the school board and the county is the county, so if we put a T-SPLOS on the ballot, it fails, you have to wait a year. If we put a regular SPLOS on the ballot, you have to wait a year. E-SPLOS, if it fails, you gotta wait a year, so that makes sense.
Anybody else? No? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. Y'all be safe home. Don't all try to run out the parking lot at once.